with a cloud, right? It's literally a cloud of information. So, if you consider your current experience linear progression through a perceived time/space escape, limited, what makes you as the conscious human different is that you have the quantum superimposition of that cloud coinciding with your linear timeline, and that coincidence makes it makes your 3D Earth life experience dynamic and free, as opposed to something like playing a tape recorder, sticking a VHS into an old tape deck, and maybe you being the TV set that is playing the movie or whatever it is. For example, if you were the TV set, you were the screen that the movie was playing on back in the VHS days, then you would feel like you're living this life out, or this show or whatever is playing, but you would have no ability to move within that preset recording. Even if the character on there was laughing or crying or planning for this or that or getting married or whatever, and it seems like the character is making choices, you playing that tape recorder out would not have any choice, and not even any perceived choice, because it's debatable whether choice exists in the first place, but at the minimum we can likely agree that perceived choice does exist. So for instance, our paths, our linear paths, have some sort of resonant residue, like a trail that would come out of your hand if you left a trail, like that movie, Donnie Darko or whatever the movie was called. I don't know if that's it. But anyway, in that movie, he had trails coming out of his body as he walked places. He became like a centipede. So if we didn't have the trails being put into a non-observable space, i.e. the mental arena or the subconscious, then everybody would be leaving trails, and eventually the whole place would be filled up really quickly. But being how it is, that information is put into a different place, it's not directly observable by the eyes, but you still have access to it. You remember where you went, you remember who you talked to, and things like that, right? But you don't have to have them right in front of you to know that they exist. That means that you're holding on to that pattern somehow, but it's hidden from you. So if you imagine, say, the human body, just imagine all the various patterns, move this way, move that way, however you do it. It's an infinite, probably, amount of possibilities as far as what arrangements, and it's beyond measurable. But if you imagine all those possibilities and then superimposed those on top of each other, what you would have is you would have some sort of a you would have the toroid kind of shape. Or it'd probably look something like an hourglass, because your legs can come out, you know, like this. And imagine if that started spinning around, because that would contain all the possibilities, and the arms go around. So you'd have like a ball on top, which would encompass all the arms possibilities, and then a sort of a pyramid for your legs possibilities. Something like that. Or maybe it would just look like a giant sphere. And just imagine that thing, that potentiality field for the body, is what you're operating within as a human, and you're just taking a snapshot of one possibility of the body, which is the one you're currently in. And you're not ever currently in one, because you're currently in a whole bunch of cascading ones. But for simplicity's sake, imagine one of them, just take a picture of it, a mental picture, and then the next one would be tied in with that one, so it would be near to it. So if your hand's here in one, it's going to be here in another one, that would be another snapshot. And they're very close together, the snapshots are very close together. So it makes for seamless, apparent motion. And it's the same thing as with, it can always be related back to the film industry, because the film industry is copying what humans are already. And, you know, some people will take it further and say this entire realm is a copying of what the divine is, or the Garden of Eden, or whatever it is. Take your pick on that. I don't really have I don't have a dog in that fight. But for movies, it's taking a picture of, say, something that's already going on, some movement, some motion. One frame, one frozen frame. And then another one is flashed in a very tiny time interval that's very similar to the first one, and then the third one is flashed similar to the second one, and they're very close together, so your conscious observing self sees motion, and it can't detect that it's just a whole bunch of still slides that are flashed in quick succession. And if you're living your moment, your life, you retain the memory of the form of whatever you're doing. So I'm driving down the street, so there's a form that's called street within my mental state, right? And within that is all of the memories of all of the streets I've ever driven on, or walked on, or flown over, you know, crashed my bike on, whatever. All of those memories serve as that quantum superimposition cloud, mental cloud, that's hovering and floating in the same time space as my current linear expression, and informing it. So I don't have to teach myself, what is this funny thing sticking out of the ground with strange symbols on it? Every time I see it, I look at that and I pull from that cloud. So that cloud is informing our every movement and motion as the conscious experiencer. And it's also giving freedom. If we didn't have that quantum superimposition possibility cloud permeating our lived linear experience in every moment, then it would be trapped. We would feel absolutely trapped, because it would be essentially the tape recorder thing. It would be one-dimensional. And you could argue that this 3D, third density expression, conscious expression, is very limited anyway, even with that quantum aspect to it. It is still limited, but having that makes it so the thing is not so binding, it's not so constricting on your essence. Because in every movement and in every motion, every thought that you have, you're just plucking something out from this vast ocean or vast cloud of possibilities, and you're pulling from the cloud of all possibilities. You're not just pulling from, say, your own personal experiences that have ever happened. You're pulling from all of the experiences that have ever happened and have been recorded and uploaded into the cloud. Everybody's experiences go into the same cloud, the collective subconscious, or the Akashic records. And everybody has access to that if they want it, or if they learn how to get it. Maybe not everybody deserves access to that, because some people might be trying to manipulate or go for personal gain or riches or whatever, but if you're ready for it, then it will inform all of your movements and give advice. It's like talking to ancestors. It's the same thing, because they're in the cloud also. Where else would they go? So when you open yourself up to that, then your life expands infinitely, not just exponentially. It's just from 0 to a billion, quadrillion, just by virtue of connecting yourself to that. And what a lot of people have been doing up until this point, including myself, I was in the other perception for a long time. What a lot of people have been doing is believing the narrative that you're a such and so, Bob, whatever, Jane Doe, John Doe, and here are your character traits, and this is your proper place, and so on. And you just simply believed it. And you, while believing that, just didn't look, you didn't notice to see that there was an infinite cloud of possibilities as well. That included the John Doe and the Jane Doe personality profile. So you can do that if you want, you don't have to. And a lot of people also, with the dogmatic religious stuff, fell for that thing. So they're like, well, I need to be taken care of, and there's all kinds of crazy shit out there, and there are evil beings and controlling things, and the archons, and the satanic ones, and this and that. Yes. And so people say, well, I need some protection, and here, come protect me, deity, whoever. And you can do that too. And still, the thing about choosing a something or other, or a deity, is that you are plucking from that unmanifest infinite potentiality cloud. You're sticking your finger in there, you're creating like a little eddy, and then you're jumping into the eddy. You're jumping into that one little tiny pattern set that emerges from the water hitting your finger, and claiming that is yourself, that one little whirlpool thing that was created, which is also fine, but it's also limiting. And when you find out that you can live your whole life simply in that cloud while having the linear experience being played out, then it's a no-brainer for me. I don't know, maybe not everybody feels like that's something they want, but and also that is paired with the simple fact of the present moment, which again contains everything, but that's been screwed with as well. People, most people have been taught to project everything out and get on the 70-year plan or the 50-year plan or whatever, and be always thinking about the future or the past, which of course don't exist. So it's a lot of things, but the freedom is for everybody. If anybody that wants it can have it. They have to get past their own demons. They have to get past their own belief systems that they have plucked out from the cloud, and set down the thing and then built their house in there. You have to get beyond that, but nobody's stopping anybody from doing anything. It's ourselves always that stop things from happening, because like Bashar said, humans are the masters of limitation. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a version of experience. It's not this or that. But yeah. Kind of like claiming bits of an infinite cloud as yourself, when you can just be the whole entire cloud and just also have the lived linear experience, seems to be like you're selling yourself short a bit. But to each his own, to each her own. And I've got to go back into the I got to go back into my little cutoff section of the quantum cloud and earn some money. So I hope any of that made any sense. I don't know if it did or not. It makes sense to me, but hope everybody's doing well. Peace.